Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here again this week to talk about some of the things that God has told us to do. And I want to reemphasize that a lot of people think God, I don't know, He wants to discipline us. That's His purpose, to make sure we're on a straight and narrow. And that's true, at least at some level. But He's also, and more so, about giving us guidance as to how to live so that we can experience life to its fullness. Now, if you're already experienced life to its fullness, then you don't need to listen to me. But if that's not quite the case, well, maybe I got an idea here this morning that might help. It comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, right in the midst of what is typically called the Beatitudes. And Jesus says this in verse 7. Chapter 5, verse 7 of Matthew. God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. God blesses those who are merciful. What is it God wants us to do? Be merciful. Why? Well, it's the right thing to do. But more than that, we are then shown mercy because that's what we offered. Now think about this for a minute. If you show anger towards someone, what happens? Well, usually, unless they're really, really good at self-restraint, they get angry back. And then what does that accomplish? It doesn't solve anything. It's not productive. It's just anger that destroys people. God wants us as people who try to follow Him. Now, I grant you, some of you who are listening may not be in that category. Maybe you aren't trying to follow Him. Maybe you don't want to try to follow Him. Maybe you've given up on trying to follow Him. And if that's the case, all I can really say is, I understand, but I think that's sad. God says here, He wants us to be merciful. What is mercy other than being forgiving? Not taking out on someone what they deserve, but instead offering something that they don't deserve that's good for them. That's mercy. And I know in our world, we're not based on mercy. Our world is based on force. I can make you do something. Laws are not really made for our protection, though that's what they say sometimes. They're made for control, for power. And they're like that because so many humans, so many of us in our society, can't control ourselves. So in order to protect the others who maybe can control themselves at some level, we pass a law. We have this crazy notion in our culture about fairness. And really, we're more Old Testament than we are New. We're more an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. The problem with that attitude is that if you look at that passage in the Old Testament. It's not saying if someone takes an eye, you take theirs. Or if somebody takes a tooth, you take theirs. It says if someone takes your eye, you can't do any more than take their eye. It's not a commandment of what to do, but it's a limitation of how far to go. Too many people think they have to get even. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. I remember my son said many, many times, if they treat me with respect, I'll treat them with respect. And I would say, no, Joe, you treat them with respect regardless. Well, why should I do that? I said, because that's the right thing to do. Showing mercy puts you into a different relationship with the person involved than if you don't. And the new relationship is one where you can help and encourage and strengthen and maybe even help heal whatever their issue is. Now, I've never faced anybody down with a gun in my face. I have been told on 2 occasions that there was someone who had a gun and wanted to put it in my face. And I've debated about what would I do. Well, I can't tell you that I'd smile and say, go ahead. I can't tell you I'd do the old Clint Eastwood, make my day. I don't know what I'd do. I'll figure it out when I get there. But I hope when I get there, I embody the personhood of Jesus and the desire of God that he tells us to be merciful. Now, the other part of this, which I'll touch a base with quickly here, is it says, if you give mercy, you will receive mercy. It doesn't say if you don't give it, you won't get it, but it's implied here. All of us, you, me, the guy next door, guy across the road, guy I talked to out on the street this morning, all of us are going to stand before God at some point in our lives. And at that point, what we have done, good and bad, is going to be brought to the fore. God doesn't forget any of it. And when we get to that point, there are 2 options. One, we get judged on the basis of fairness. And do I get what I deserve? Or 2, we're judged on the basis of mercy and forgiveness. Now, with a God who is unable to commit sin, who is perfect, I don't want to have to argue my case for justice in front of him. But I don't want to have to argue it in front of my kids or my neighbors. I don't even want to have to argue it in front of myself. So what does God want us to do? What does he tell us to do? It's real simple. Show mercy. Today, tomorrow, and every day. And if that's not your thing, well, give it a try. See what God does. Thanks for listening. If you have a prayer, concern, or need, let us know. We'll do whatever we can, as fast as we can, to help out. I'll talk to you tomorrow with some more ideas about what does God tell us to do.